Hello, friends and traders. Welcome to the market recap. I am Dan Hodgman, joined once again by John Doherty. John, how are you?
Doing great, Dan.
I got to say, fun day finally. Ranges opened up. I wasn't yawning all day watching some of these markets. I felt pretty pumped about that. Some of the stuff we talked about this morning on the forecast played out relatively nicely, if I do say so myself. And we'll dive into that here in a little bit in the charts. And by the way, it is Thursday, August 20th. We are coming towards the end of summer. Pretty wild to think. And it's still 85 and sunny out, so I'm not going to complain too much. But hey, this is JD and I's last day this week. JD, thank you for joining in on these recaps this week, and I look forward to making this a regular thing. Sorry I wasn't here yesterday.
Yeah, this is always great. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me again.
Absolutely. Well, JD, it was a fun day. I mean, we were talking before you and I sat down. Title says it nicely, but I'm going to reiterate this. Crude oil, huge range, finally. Crude oil's been a freaking dud. It's been boring. Finally gave us something, and it didn't just give us something. I'm going to show you guys something. Last Thursday in the market forecast, I sat down and said, look, there's a price down below that I am watching. That day, settlement price was $42.19. I said, look, if this thing goes lower, there is a price at $41.63 that I've been watching for a while. I reiterated that price this morning, and just so you guys can see, this is jobless claims last week. We're showing under 1 million. I've even got Bezos sold off $3 billion just for clarity. And right there, $41.63 was my price. I said it again this morning, 3 cents away from weekly kickoff low. I'm pretty pumped about that. It's not very often I call a level and it happens to be a tick. So I'm going to relish in this for some time. JD, have you ever called the market to a tick?
Never. And if I did, I would never tell anybody about it.
I've done it twice.
Everyone thinks you're lying when you do it. But yeah, you nailed it today. How do you come up with these levels? You want to give us a little insight?
Well, it all comes down to time and volume based levels. Everything for me is not just time volume, but it's also time spent at those prices. That's what I'm looking at. And when a market picks a direction, I've got levels that I can go back. I've got stacks of cards that I look back on everything on all my levels. And I start to look for the common levels that continue to come into play that I've seen action at, I've seen movement at. I'll tell you one that's going to be sticking around me for a while is going to be that 3380. That's just been a brick wall for the S&Ps, and we'll see that one here again. So without further ado, why don't we just take a look at these charts and go from there? All right. Everybody, as always, we're going to start with the crude oil here. And again, like I said, 41.63. But market opened up and we were sitting here this morning. We said, all right, here comes the sell-off. Where can we start to look for this? So we started looking back and we started asking ourselves, where are we seeing time and volume based? We see the first place we're looking is at $42. Remember, big fat round numbers, they hold credence for us, and those are things that we want to pay attention to. So came down to 42, blew right through there after a slight hesitation, went down, pegged 41.63, and man, oh man, buyers came in fast and hard. Did I think it was going to hit this hard and bounce? No, I really did not. I'm going to be completely honest with you. This was very difficult to hop in on that trade. If it doesn't move through those levels, we're not really prepared to take it the second it touches it. So chances are a lot of us may have missed this trade, but that's life. Market worked its way up, but this is where we look for our opportunity. Now, where can we start to look to get into this trade? And this morning we said, look, we're going to be paying attention to that 42.60 mark. Because remember, settlement price is all the way up here at 43.11. And we said, look, let's start to pay attention to that 42.60. That's this kind of low idea that we want to keep an eye on. There's been a lot of participation there, a lot of volume. Market used, once it got through that 42.60, continued to bounce off of 42.60 and really never accepted into yesterday's value area. So this 42.81 kind of became that wall up above. Next, let's look at the S&P 500. This is another one. We sat here, we drew trend lines on together this morning, and we said, look, this market was already starting to work its way back lower. And I think we were about right here when we sat down this morning. And I said, look, this is still maintaining a little bit of an upward direction. We're making higher highs and higher lows. So we drew a little simple trend line on and we said, look, if it maintains this direction, if it doesn't really show trade below this trend, we can look to maybe see that work its way right back to settlement price. Remember, settlement price 33.72 and 3/4. Now, what do we say after that? We said, look, settlement price is great, but we really love this 33.80, and market kind of worked its way through it, missed that 33.88 we had talked about for a little bit, but continues to work around this 33.80 price point. So again, this is going to be a level I will continue to pay attention to. Next, let's go ahead and look at the NASDAQ. Pretty similar setup here to S&P 500, but man, this thing really got going. Again, we drew that simple trend line sitting here this morning. Market pushed through it a little bit more than the S&Ps, but as soon as this thing opened up, the buyers came in and this thing just continued to accelerate. This morning, we said, look, if the buyers can scoop this thing up, I thought maybe it was going to be a little stretch to get up to this 420 mark. We got there. It hit the wall a little bit, gave us a chance to get in on that trend and continue its acceleration and really pushing this market higher. Next, let's look at gold. Here we go. So gold continued to find that support. What did the price we talked about this morning? 1933. Market came down right after we spoke, checked it out. Buyers picked this thing up. And I said, look, I don't really anticipate seeing this thing recover too many losses. And I was looking at those swing highs and the swing lows. They said, first off, we have a swing high from yesterday and a swing, or from the overnight, and a swing low from yesterday. That may be an area this thing will slow down. So we said, all right, let's just round this thing to 1960 through 1960. We're looking up to 70. We never really got through 60, and now it's holding steady. Let's now work our way over to the currencies. Funny, we continue to draw these trend lines here today, and they're working for us, right? It's simple things that we look at in these markets, and not always are these things going to work, but it's really set up nicely here again. Soon as we finished talking, this market it was working its way lower, and we said, look, this market is working in a lower direction. How do we trade that? Well, we're looking for the strength in the market to short. Once this market came back and checked the trend line down here, there really wasn't that chance of like, oh, there's our strength. No, it popped really strong and worked its way right back to settlement price. Once again, 118.62 there. All right, now let's go ahead and look at the yen, and then let's see what JD's got to say. So again, another trend line here, pretty simple. Market continued to work its way down to it and just continued to step higher. So we worked our way off the trend right after the market, right when the market opened up. We opened, came right down to trend. Now is where we're looking for that opportunity to get in and take this market higher. The market slowly trended higher. A couple prices we were looking at here today. I really thought maybe we'd get up to that 61 or 62. Yesterday's point of control never really got there. But hey, good opportunity nonetheless as it worked its way up there. And it really showed. If you were trying to get up to 62, this market stalled out and gave us a lot of time to go ahead and get out of there. So those are our markets here today. JD, what are your thoughts?
Hey, thanks, Dan. Yeah, so last night, we've been seeing a lot of MOC selling the last couple of days, and I think that had a lot to do with what drove the stocks lower overnight last night. As far as this morning goes, I'm sure we all saw the economic reports, jobless claims increased a little, back above 1 million for the week. The Philly Fed manufacturing index was a bit weak too, but that didn't stop tech from making a comeback and propping up the NASDAQ and S&P. We've been talking about this for a couple of days too. Tesla. It's just out of control. It was brought up in a separate work thread between a few of us today, and the consensus is definitely mixed about it. Some guys say it's a retail trap and Wall Street's going to come in and just run everybody out. Some others think that it's going to double up again after the split. I'll tell you what I think. I may be a little biased because I like it, but after 4 straight months or quarters of growth, their inclusion in the S&P, and they're anticipating a boost in production next year. I understand it looks too good to be true, but it's on its highs and it's running like a freight train, so I'm not stepping in front of it. A couple of chart patterns. If you're looking at Russell and Dow daily charts, there's some nice bullish flag patterns setting up right there. I'm going to start looking for breakout areas on those. You can play them real cheap, minimal risk right now. Dan touched on gold a little bit too. Stalled out of the Fed minutes yesterday. The dollar's still kind of strong though.
It's picking up a little, that dollar.
A little bit. We could possibly still see another leg lower. It's below the 20-day moving average still, but I kind of like it as a dip buyer also. Tomorrow, PMI, existing home sales. Outside of the options expiration, I really don't see much happening going on the weekend. So I think it's going to be kind of quiet tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I would agree there. And I just wanted to touch on something. You're bringing up Tesla and that too good to be true thought. So today I wanted to kind of find a car, a similar company that, or I won't say company, but a similar company that creates a car that's equivalent price wise and innovation wise. And BMW has always been kind of an innovative company. They had the hydrogen car. They have a lot riding on this secondary fuel sources, and electric and hydrogen's been a big thing for BMW. So to put things in perspective for myself, I went and looked at output production for Tesla compared to BMW. Tesla in 2019 put out just under 400,000 cars. That's a lot of cars, right? So I started thinking, okay, what's BMW's output? BMW last year put out 2.5 million cars off the line. Now, the crazy part is Tesla's market cap is like 387 billion. 387 billion, and BMW's market cap is 32 billion. More than 10 times the size, and they're doing a fifth or less, probably a sixth of the output that Tesla's or that BMW's. It's just
everyone's betting on Elon mining gold from asteroids in the next couple of years.
And that's what it is. I think the money that's going into Tesla, you're not totally just investing in a car company. You're investing in the technology. You're investing in Elon Musk after seeing what he did with SpaceX. And that's what we're investing in if you're buying that Tesla stock. Obviously, right now, maybe it's a little pricey for a lot of people, but when the split comes, we might have some opportunity to get in there. Just want to say hello to everyone. Tanya, Sarah, good to see you guys. Real talk. Oil, yes, complete beast. Dana using limit orders at those levels. You know, Tanya, it always depends. Sometimes I'll work limit orders. Sometimes I'm just entering in the market. I'm watching that market participate. A lot of times for me to enter in the market, I am not setting orders. I'm not setting those wishing orders. I'm waiting to see reaction around that price, and then I'll just enter at the market. Mike, what a call on NQ. Can you show those levels again and explain how you get that on your charts? Well, sure. Real quick, let me just pull up my charts here, and I'll show you just kind of simply put what we're looking at in the NASDAQ. So when I look at the NASDAQ, first things first, 42.20, very simple price. A lot of time and a lot of volume has been spent up there this week. If we were to just pull up a simple volume profile over, whoops, why didn't it want to click in? I think I clicked the wrong thing. Here we go. So as I bring this volume profile up over the last few days, very simple. We have a lot of time, and I don't know why it's not extending all the way for me. Here we go. We have a lot of time and a lot of participation traded right up at that price point. It's value area high. Now we can look at it a couple of different ways. You can just say, look, I'm going to come to 15. I was just kind of looking at some of these more highs that we had seen and brought it back a little bit. So 42.20, that was a relatively simple price. Again, something I'll keep an eye on as the market continues to come into play. As far as the low side here, it's really just a simple play of multiple swing lows, but our lows are moving higher. We're creating a direction, and that direction's telling us this market's moving higher. And I'm not looking to execute if I get too far away from those low points or from that trend line. And I'm looking for opportunity as that market comes into here. So that's pretty much as simple as it gets. Obviously, there's a lot of times more comes into play when we're talking about levels. Like I said, I've got stacks of cards. I mean, everywhere you look, I got levels. I got more levels. I've got levels. I've got more levels. Everywhere you look, I have these cards covered in levels, papers covered in levels. It's probably not the cleanest, neatest, most organized way of doing it, but it works for me. Rob, good to see you. And Tanya, awesome. Well, a couple things I wanted to note on before we took off completely. This is big news for Uber and Lyft. I was actually recently talking with a friend of mine. She works at DoorDash, and I was just trying to get some thoughts on DoorDash because we're seeing Uber, we're seeing Lyft struggle in California. Well, the appeals court just came through, gave them a reprieve, and is going to allow them to continue to operate in the state of California. That could be a big game changer, right? You know, you think about it. If these guys get shut down in California, California is a massive population that utilizes these services quite heavily. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. All right. JD, you touched on economic calendar, correct?
I did. Just a little bit for tomorrow. Existing home sales and PMI. That's for tomorrow. And it's going to be a pretty quiet morning.
I think so. I'm off tomorrow. I'm looking to get away from these screens and not think about it. Just to touch on it, as we have been doing for the last few months, VIX is still holding above 20. We're sitting at 22.5 right now, but it popped this morning on the open. We were up at 24.5, so it's come off a little bit. That obviously has to do with jobless claims this morning. That volatility did increase. So at this point, I don't have a ton for the state and history, but I have one that I'm kind of excited about. And that is in 1920, professional football was established. Famous Jim Thorpe and 7 other guys got together and organized the first professional football game. All right, JD, Sarah's got a question for you. Technically, do you see gold going higher?
I think everybody wants to see it go higher. 2100 has been on a lot of people's radars ever since the rally started a couple weeks ago. Right now, it's holding below that 20-day moving average, so I want to see a little bit of positive price action before I call that move higher. But ultimately, I am saying higher. I said it a little while ago. I think it's still a dip buyer's market for sure.
I'll be honest with you. I hope it does, because that means silver's going higher, and I've got some silver investments that I'm hoping to stay in for a while and see that continue to move. Andre's got a question. Dan, how do you get settlement price to show on the graph? Well, settlement, Andre, I just literally click drawing tools and grab a line and draw out the settlement price. Some platforms allow you to add settlement kind of as a indicator. This platform, TS Trader, does not allow that opportunity, but you can always find settlement price in multiple different places. Number one, every single quote board that I can ever think of has the option to add settlement price into the quote board. So you just add that column. You can always find it on the CME website. Just pick the product that you're looking at, and contract specs, I believe it doesn't fall under contract specs. I think it's right under the main tag there. So a couple different places to find settlement price. And then some platforms, again, allow you to add it in there. All right. I think that's it.
I forgot to do a dad joke. I'll have it for next week.
I got one. I promise. I got one. I saw one on TV, and it made me laugh. So Dad's talking with his son, and he says, I was going to tell you a roof joke, but it'd probably just go over your head.
Oh. One dad right now.
That was bad. That's what I got, guys. JD, have a nice weekend. I'm going to get on out of here and go enjoy a sunny weekend at the lake.
Excellent. Thanks again for having me, Dan. And
absolutely.
We'll see everybody next week.
Sounds great. Everybody stay safe. Wash your hands. Look forward to seeing you in the markets. Trade well.